If you've been active in the online art community in the last couple of years, or you have artist friends, chances are you've already heard about Artfight. Maybe you've even participated yourself, but you need some help preparing. Or maybe you literally didn't even know Artfight existed until now. Either way, I'm gonna be explaining what Artfight is, give you some information on what to prepare, how to set up your characters, how you can avoid being slowed down by the website crashing, and more. This video is timestamped so you can come back to specific sections when you need them. Let's get into it. Alright, so what even is Artfight? Artfight is an annual online art event and website where you join a team and can draw other artists' characters to earn points for your team. So there's no actual fighting involved, just making art. I know, right? Disappointing. Artfight happens every year during the entire month of July, but don't be sad if you're watching this right after July because I also have some interesting infos for you later. Artfight originally started on an internet forum all the way back in 2007, but the event grew over the years. The Artfight website was first used in 2016 with just 7,000 users compared to an astronomical 425,000 users in 2024. So, how does it work? Essentially, you can upload artworks and lore of your original characters or self-insert onto the website. Other artists can see your characters and make drawings of them, which is called an attack. But attacks can also be animations, 3D models, or other crafts like crochet. When you make an attack, the artwork gets points based on how much of the character is visible, how shaded it is, etc., and the points get added to your profile as well as your team's point pool. If the artist you attacked makes a drawing for you in return, it's called a revenge. You can also attack people on your team, which is called friendly fire, but only earns you 20% of the points you would normally get. Once July is over, you can no longer submit new attacks and the team with the most points is declared the winner. Artfight calls itself an art trading game, but I think it's better to think of it as an art gifting game, because attacking someone doesn't mean you will be getting a revenge. Also, if you want to join, it's important to keep in mind that the point system is not the main point of the event. In the Artfight team's own words, while there are point scores, the real goal is to celebrate characters with your fellow artists. Artfight is about giving and receiving amazing art. How do you prepare for Artfight? Usually it's a good idea to start your Artfight preparations before July, ideally at the beginning of June or earlier, because for the 2 times I participated in Artfight, there was one thing that made my life very difficult. I think everyone who did Artfight at least once knows what I'm about to say. The website doesn't load, or it loads very slowly. And that's an issue when Artfight is about to start in a week and it becomes impossible to set up your character profiles or save references of characters you want to attack. Luckily, I have a free tool for you that can solve this issue. It's incredibly useful for Artfight in general and happens to be the sponsor of this video. Milanote lets you organize your creative projects on boards in a visual way, which is perfect for Artfight prep. I'm gonna walk you through how to use Milanote to get ready for Artfight and how it can save your butt when the Artfight website is down again, but of course it's still an awesome tool to use outside of Artfight as well. Organizing your character references and info. Because Artfight is prone to crashing and it can also happen while you're typing in information into character profiles, I would recommend sorting all your references, info and lore in Milanote so you can copy it over easily later. The first thing you can do is adding a to-do list so you can keep track of what you already did and what you still need to do. Then you can use a template if you feel overwhelmed by the blank canvas, like this one specifically for characters. Just drag and drop in artworks of your character or click on the empty images from your template. If you already have written lore or information on your character elsewhere, but you want to sort it, rewrite it, or summarize it, just copy and paste it into one of the note fields. Once you pasted everything in, it's time to decide what to include in your Artfight profile and how you want to structure it. So I'm gonna drag in a note. I usually structure my Artfight profiles like this. There's a short info section at the top so you can get a quick overview of the character. Then there's a longer section where I describe their personality, who they interact with, and what they like to do. I would suggest you guys don't dump all your lore into there, because in the end, Artfight isn't an OC lore website but meant so people can understand your characters enough to draw them. The longest character profile I have is Facilia's, and that's not even that long. Then I have a section for drawing ideas in case people have a hard time coming up with their own. You can make it look like a proper list by clicking on the list icon on the side. I usually add stuff like which of my OCs they would interact with, if they would do flirty interactions, what hobbies they have, or just cool visuals I have in my head that I haven't drawn yet. Now, you really want to add a section for your character permissions, unless you absolutely do not care in which scenarios your characters are drawn. I simply make a do's and don'ts list that state if people can draw my OCs with Gore, Nudity, Suggestive Themes, or other people's OCs. There's also a color tool that lets you add color swatches to your profile. Just drag one onto your board and pick the color you want, or paste in the hex code. This could be helpful if you let people use your Milanote board on the side so they can just grab the hex code of your character's colors. Then you can copy paste the whole thing and fill it out for your next character. I also made a character relationship board in Milanote, which I linked in my global permissions on Artfight so people can easily understand how my characters feel about each other. I picked one of the templates, dragged in my OC art and connected them with the line tool. You can add a label and a color to specify what the relationship is like, and add arrows to show if it's one-sided. I also added some notes to clarify what the characters think about each other. And that's basically all you need to prepare for your characters. If you feel like you want to give people the option to look at all of the lore and references you have for your OC, but don't want to clutter your Artfight page, you can give people a link to your Milanote board that has all of that on it. To do this, you can simply share your Milanote board via the read-only link. You can even set a password for added safety if you only want to share it with specific people. Be careful not to give the editor's link to anyone you don't want to be able to edit or delete your board though. I'm also gonna leave a link to my Artfight prep template, so you can just copy and paste it to your own boards. And if you don't already have a Milanote account, use my link in the description to sign up for free with no time limit. But what if you want to make updated drawings for your characters or design a whole reference sheet? A character reference sheet, or ref sheet for short, is basically there to show off your character designs in a simple pose with no shading or very little shading, so other people have an easier time understanding and drawing them. However, they are not necessary for Artfight. If you have one or two drawings of your character that have pretty neutral lighting, that's already enough. But ref sheets are helpful for more complex designs and also just cool, so I get it if you do want to make one. Now, all the refs and info we just dumped onto Milanote are gonna be super useful for making a ref sheet. You can handwrite notes on top of the images to decide what you want to show off in the ref sheet or what you'd like to change. You can also use Milanote to keep all of your references open on the side while you draw, since you can use it on PC and tablets. If you need more advice on how to actually make a character reference sheet or how to decide what to put on them, I already made a whole video on it, which I think is pretty helpful. Saving references of the OCs you want to attack. Okay, so I already said the Artfight website is down a lot, and that's a problem if you're ready to draw someone's OC but can't access the Artfight profile to grab their references anymore. Now, you can bookmark characters on Artfight, and that's all well and good when the website's working. But you're screwed if it's not, so I always save the references elsewhere, like in Milanote. You could copy and paste in the image links or download the images and drag them in, but the Milanote Web Clipper plugin allows you to easily save images from the internet to Milanote with 2 clicks. You just add it to your browser and it will show you the Save Milanote icon on every image you hover over with your mouse. Just click on it to add it to your boards and then drag it wherever you want. You can also save images, links and text via your phone as well if you're browsing Artfight on the go. Then you can copy and paste in any of the character's lore you might want to look at again before you start drawing. And if you need some pose references, color palettes or mood inspiration, you can literally look those up on Milanote itself and drag them to your board. If you feel like your board is getting a bit too cluttered, you can make a board within your already existing board and drag your attack preparation references into that board. Thanks to Milanote for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to sign up for free with no time limit with the link in the description. If you followed all of these steps, congrats, you are now super prepared for Artfight and aren't gonna lose any information due to the website crashing. But let's talk about how to actually join Artfight. How to set up your profile. To join Artfight, you do have to make an account on their website. Without an account, you won't be able to view other profiles or art. Once you signed up, you can do all the typical social media things like adding a profile picture, adding a profile description, etc. I know the website design is very outdated and confusing. I will only mention the most important things in this video for the sake of keeping it shorter. If you need a more in-depth guide on the interface, check out this video by Mars MP MP3. Chroma Cadios and Phoenix Mask also made great videos about customizing your profile in more detail. The links are in the description so you can watch those later. The most important thing you need to set up on your profile is your characters, because without them, you won't be able to get any attacks. You can either click on the submit button at the top or go to the character page in the sidebar menu and submit or edit a character. I already talked about what I typically put into my character profiles in the prep sections, so we'll just go ahead and copy and paste that in. You also need to check if your entire character profile needs a content filter, but more on content filters later. You can also add tags for people to find your characters easier, but they aren't necessary, and as far as I know they don't help too much either, but people can search for characters with specific tags. Once you have your characters set up, you also want to edit your character permissions and or your global permissions. Basically, the permissions are there to tell people what they are allowed to draw with your characters and what they aren't allowed to draw. If you set up global permissions, they will apply to all of your characters, while character permissions only apply to one character. So if you don't want people to draw Gore with your OCs, you can set it as a global permission. But if you're okay with one character being drawn with Gore, you can add that to the permissions on their character page. And that's the basic of what you need to have set up in order for people to be able to attack you. Which Artfight team should I pick? There obviously isn't one answer to this, but I'm gonna explain everything relevant to the decision. The two main deciding factors for most people are actually just the theme of the team and the team color. In 2024 we had Team Stardust versus Seafoam. I picked Stardust, so my name, my attacks and my characters' names were colored purple. For Seafoam the names were turquoise. So yeah, a lot of people just decide based on which color they like better. You also get different achievement badges based on the teams, but I don't think people really care about those. Other than that, there isn't much that the team choice changes for you. You can use these official templates for your profile, which reflect the team theme, or use themed borders on your attacks, but you can even make custom borders if you don't like your team border, so this isn't a big factor. If you like both themes equally, you can decide to join the team that has less of your friends in it. So when you attack them, you will get the full amount of points and not the reduced friendly fire points. But since points aren't super important, I wouldn't pick a team based on this unless both themes are a complete tie for me in terms of aesthetic. And if you really can't decide, you can always let the randomizer decide for you. If you end up not being happy with your team for whatever reason, you can switch it once during the event and earn yourself the Trader badge. As I'm working on this video, the teams for this year have not been announced yet, but Artfight always shares them on their socials a while before Artfight starts. As for any website or event, there are rules you need to follow. You should definitely read through the whole list yourself. I promise it's not long or complicated. I will only give you a quick summary here. The basic website rules are that you need to be 13 or older, you cannot have multiple accounts, discrimination is not allowed, content like artistic nudity, gore, suggestive themes, etc. are allowed, but need to have the appropriate filters applied. I will be explaining the content filters later. All artworks and characters need to be your own, or you need to have the permission to use them from the creator. All attacks must be original, and using bases is not allowed. And attacks must be made during the duration of the event. The art or character designs you receive cannot be used for profit, and you also can't sell them. And lastly, don't be aggressive towards the other team. Again, this was just a quick summary. Please read the rules yourself if you want to participate. Now, I asked you guys if there's any more questions you had about Artfight over on my Discord, so we're gonna talk about some general advice and questions. There's also some Artfight etiquette that everyone should know about, which is partially in the rules, but I want to highlight it because if you ignore these things, you could upset other people and ruin the fun for them, or for yourself. First of all, your skill level absolutely does not matter, but you should always try and put in effort and respect the character designs, and also respect people's character permissions, obviously. That's actually a rule, and if you willfully ignore character permissions, not only is that kind of a mean-spirited move, but it can also get you banned. That said, if you're not sure about if someone would be happy about your drawing idea, or their permissions are a little bit vague, you can always ask them. There are private messages on Artfight, and most people also link some of their socials in their profile. If someone draws your character in a way that doesn't fit them or is against your character permissions, instead of immediately blocking the person, maybe write them a DM or comment to let them know about it. Mistakes happen, and not everyone who ignores character permissions does so out of ill intent. People forget things. I know many artists have no issue changing up an attack if it ended up making the character's owner uncomfortable. Alright, next up, nobody is obliged to attack you back. This is in the rules as well, so don't beg or harass anyone who isn't revenging your attack. Attack people because you like the character design and not because you want something in return. You will only disappoint yourself if that's your motivation, especially if you attack popular artists. I got like 80 attacks last year and made 9, so you can calculate the odds yourself. But on the flip side, if you know you won't be able to revenge people or you don't want to do revenges, state it in your profile. That way you can avoid people attacking you for just the revenge. Last year my profile stated that I generally don't do revenges because I knew I would get a lot of attacks, but I think that transparency is important. I'm not sure how I will handle it this year yet. I might do it like last year and just draw a couple of rendered bangers, or I actually try to revenge as much as I can and draw simple headshots. Whatever I decide, you will be able to read it on my profile page before the event starts. If you really want art from someone but they don't attack or revenge you, check if they offer commissions. Mine might be open depending on when you're watching this, so check out my description to find out more. If you'd like to be notified about when or where they open, I have a commission tag role on my Discord. You literally don't have to use the server for anything else if you don't want to. Just grab the commission tag and you're good to go. Next up, when you get an attack from someone, leave a nice comment to thank them. Again, you don't have to revenge anyone if you don't want to, but I feel like leaving a comment is a simple way to show that person you still appreciate the work they put in. If you're wondering how many OCs you should put onto Artfight, set up the characters you want to be drawn. You don't need to put up all your OCs there. Especially if you have a ton of OCs, it's gonna take you ages, and it will also be super confusing for people trying to decide on who to draw. I would say if you really can't decide, put up a max of 10 OCs and mark the ones who you would like to see more art of with a star or something in front of their names. And when you're selecting which characters to draw, my friend Renee said it best, so I'm just gonna quote him. Choose characters which you want to draw, but draw them in a way that makes the other person happy. You may like a character design and headcanon them to act a certain way, but if that's not the case or the character permissions even state not to draw them like that, try to think of an idea that would be more in line with what the owner thinks the OC acts like. Or find a different OC that is more aligned with the vibe that you want to draw. Next tip, do it at your own pace. You can join or leave Artfight anytime. You don't have to be there the whole month. You don't have to be there day one. You can join the last week if you want to. Usually I draw a lot for Artfight the first week or two and then slow down. Don't care too much about which team wins. It really doesn't matter. If you have an art social media account on any platform really, make sure to announce to your followers that you're gonna be joining Artfight. They might put you on their hit list. If you don't have friends that will attack you and also no social media following, I would recommend joining the Artfight Discord. They have a target hunting channel where people will look for OCs to draw. I will also have a channel like that in my Discord server. If you feel uncomfortable joining huge servers like the Artfight one, just keep in mind that you need to be 15 or older to join my Discord. Also, some people were curious about how to make and add these profile cards to your profile. Artfight usually posts them once the teams are revealed. You can download them and then edit in images of your characters and text. Then you need to upload them somewhere, so you can grab the image link and paste it into your profile. I literally made a hidden Artfight character to do this. Or if you don't like the official templates, you can also make your own version. Are there Artfight events outside of July? So Artfight happens every July, but what if you're watching this later? I have good news for you, because on the Artfight Discord server, there's various art minigames you can play. I haven't participated in those, so if you guys have, feel free to share your experiences in the comments. They also host prompt lists, kind of like Inktober, during different times of the year, which can earn you achievement badges on the Artfight website. Okay, I yapped about a lot of things in this video, but how do you actually submit an attack? Well, once the event begins, you can click on the submit button at the top and there will be an option to submit your attack. It's obviously not July yet, so I can't give you the best footage for this process. You will just have to live with some footage from last year. Once you click on it, it will open a new page. You're gonna have to name the attack, but the name isn't really important. I usually name it something dumb that's vaguely related to the drawing, just for fun. Make sure to not break any rules though, and be respectful if you don't know the person you're attacking. Then you can put in a description if you want to. I tend to write about my drawing process or why I like the person's OC. There's also a private description that only the person you attacked can see. Since I always upload glazed and or night shaded versions of my art, which tend to look a bit crunchy, I always write that they can contact me if they want the full HD files. And Artfight also has a limit on how big your files can be. Chances are if you're using bigger canvases, you can't upload the full HD version anyways. Below that you can actually upload your artwork and a thumbnail. Note that you don't need to put in a thumbnail. I usually don't because it's confusing to me when the thumbnail is only part of the whole image and I'm trying to find it again. And then there's the content filter section. Now this is a super important part of submitting your attack, but because it would be a long tangent, I will talk about this in the next video segment, so let's continue with the rest of the attack submission page for now. Next up, you need to add a recipient, aka the person you're attacking, and the characters that are in your attack. Make sure to spell the recipient's username correctly. As for the characters, you can copy paste their IDs from their profiles into the field and then select how much of the character is visible. Artfight has this handy graphic on their page to determine what size you need to select. If you drew multiple characters, make sure to add all of them in because it will increase your point score. And if you're revenging an attack, you can click on find revengeable attacks and select one. But only if the person you're attacking is the same one that attacked you, obviously. Once it's all done, it's time to rate your attack. Be sure to select these honestly and refer to the official guide images if you aren't sure how to rate your attack. The first one is pretty easy. Is your attack a drawing, a 3D model, craft, or animation? I'm only gonna go over the drawing category in this video because that's the most common one, but you can find a guide for all of the ratings linked in the description. For finish, there's only two options: rough sketch or clean sketch /line/lineless. Basically, you need to decide if it's rough with visible construction lines or if it's cleaned up with none or almost no construction lines. On the color tab, you can select between uncolored, which has no color or only one color, rough color, which has colors that are uneven, sketchy, or spill outside of the borders. Those can also be artworks where only parts of the character are colored, and then clean color or painted, where there's no color spill, which can also include grayscale or monochrome color schemes as long as the tones are according to the character design. For shading, you can select unshaded, which has no shading at all, minimal shading, which has very little shading in some places, and fully shaded, which is shaded consistently. Cell shading also belongs into this category if it's done on the entire character. For the background, you can select no/minimal background or photography, which has a transparent gradient or photograph background, or makes use of a pre-made brush. Pattern/abstract has self-made repeating designs or abstract backgrounds. Props, scene elements, or design layouts is for when you have several elements in the background, but it doesn't make up an entire scene. And the scene is a setting established by objects in the fore, middle, and or background. If the background doesn't match the quality of the character drawn, you should rate it under the props or pattern category. Then you can select the polish option if you spent extra time and effort on it, or if you're particularly proud of the piece. And finally, you can submit your attack. Artfight will show you everything you selected for the attack and calculate your points. Once you did that, the recipient will get a notification about your attack and hopefully be very happy. Let's talk about content filters because this is a very important topic. Artfight does allow things like artistic nudity, moderate to extreme gore, suggestive but not explicit imagery, among other things. However, there are minors and other people on the site who may not want to see specific content, and thus there are content filters. In your user settings, you can select whether you want artworks or characters that have a specific filter to be shown, censored until you click on it, or completely hidden from you. I'm gonna talk about the different categories so you can decide what you want to see and understand which filters you need to pick. But if you're planning to upload artworks like this, I suggest you read through the guide yourself since it goes into more detail than I will in this video. I am gonna show you some of the example drawings from the website, which are all drawn in a cartoony stylized way and are YouTube friendly, but if you think that would still make you uncomfortable, you can skip to the next section of the video. The Gore content filter has a moderate or an extreme gore option, depending on what is depicted and the level of detail of the drawing. Small amounts of blood, small cuts, scraped knees and small bruising don't need a filter. Cartoony missing limbs or hearts also don't need a filter. Other organs, realistic meat, flayed skin, eye trauma or detailed musculature need the moderate or extreme filter, depending on how they are drawn. Body horror. For those of you that are unfamiliar with this word, body horror is basically when you draw something with unnatural additions or distortions to the body that are usually meant to be unsettling. Bones and skeletons, missing features, gooey or slime characters, floating limbs without actual muscle detail, extra arms, legs, and heads do not need this filter. Unsettling distortions, photorealistic features on a cartoony character, features in unusual places, or parasites do need to be filtered with body horror. Now, this might be a surprise to some people, but Artfight does allow artistic nudity. Tummy or feral nipples, censored nudity, doll anatomy, pubic hair, big boobs and butts don't need the nudity filter. Humanoid nipples or humanoid plus feral nipples need the moderate nudity filter. Flaccid or closed genitals in a non-sexual setting are also allowed but need to be tagged with extreme nudity. Aroused genitals or NSFW art are not allowed on Artfight. Suggestive themes. Anything that's drawn with an adult or suggestive intent falls under this category. Lingerie, colors and harnesses without suggestive themes do not need to be filtered. Suggestive posing and mentions of adult subjects do need the filter. Writing about explicit content, specific fetishes and sexualized minors are not allowed at all. Eyestrain needs to be applied to images which could potentially be hard to look at. Things like chromatic aberration, optical illusions, flashing and extremely bright colors need this filter. And sensitive content is basically the filter that you can apply to everything else that you think other people might be uncomfortable with, but doesn't really fit into the other categories. But there are also things that need to be tagged with this filter, such as drug use, suicide-related topics, mentions of abuse, common phobias like realistic spiders, medical needles, or vomit. And that's it for the content filters. Alright, if there's anything I didn't answer in this video, feel free to ask in the comments and me or another viewer can try to help you. If you enjoyed this video or my art, consider leaving a like and sharing it with a friend who you'd like to join Artfight with. You can also follow me on social media or join my Patreon to support me and get access to HD files, time-lapse videos, commission priority, and much more. My commissions may also be open when you see this, so check out the video description to find my commission page if you're interested. Special thanks to my Patreons. Have a great Artfight. Will out.
Stay in the box! No! Stay in the box! No! Get out of my skin!